All right, good afternoon, traders. Today it's September 2nd, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading service for the hit and run candlesticks family. Let's take a look at some charts today, how I made 28K on a 615K account. All right, let's take a look here. First, let's look at today's price action. Friday we left off with consolidation, and we consolidated into the end of the day on Friday, even after the post market. Then we gapped down, and then we traded down overnight. All right, and then price action started out with a it just kind of moved up into this area right here. Let me get the SPY. Okay, so price came down and then jerked up to 640.40, which is resistance. And I'm looking for price action to climb on top of 640.40 and hold the higher ground up there. If they can do that, they will have a higher high. Right now we're showing an inverse head and shoulders on the SPY 10-minute chart. So we had a brief 10-minute uptrend right here, but it didn't last long. Then it rolled over. Then we had a 10-minute downtrend, which we traded into this area right here. All right, would be all of this congestion here, which was another inverse head and shoulders right here. And then if they decapitated the head there on this pattern, that would have negated this inverse head and shoulders. So here's price action coming down and challenging these lows. Couldn't make a lower low, so price looks like it's ready to run back up here and try to make a higher high. It's going to run into this all-time high anchored VWAP right here first. That'll be the first target on the upside. Only got a few minutes left. I don't know how close they're going to get to it. And they have to get on top of 640.40, which is support resistance right there. 640.40. Hopefully they close on top of that, or at least consolidate right underneath it to grind away at the overhead supply. So that's what we're looking at for SPY today. So a brief 10-minute trend up, not really breaking any rubber band candles there on that 10-minute chart, and then a 10-minute downtrend. All right, which we did break the rubber band candle on that. And we managed to trade that into the lows of this consolidation over here. Okay, right into the breakup candle low. I said that was going to be a target, the breakup candle low. So that was 635.04. And you can see price then turns around and reverses. And I thought maybe it would roll over at VWAP instead because of the weakness up here. Instead, they climbed back on top of VWAP. Produced a higher low, therefore the right shoulder, and then price started to climb up out of there back up towards 640.40. So nice job on the bulls today, coming back from that huge dip overnight. Still a lot of deficit here that needs to be made up. Lot of ground. Okay, still got a whole big open gap up here that never got filled. Okay, there's the clue right there. You got a bearish gap, all right, that never got filled by the bulls all day long. So there's SPY. So got a 10-minute downtrend and a 10-minute uptrend back towards VWAP, and then they climbed on top and then made the J hook. You can see here's the J hook right on top of VWAP here, and then headed back up towards support resistance, which is 640.40. All right, so there's a 10-minute chart into the close. Is a 10-minute uptrend into the close. 2-hour chart is still a 2-hour downtrend into the close. On the daily chart, okay, we have a lower high, a lower low, a huge tail here, which tells me that's where bulls are, supposedly. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we got a huge tail right there. Again, lower high, lower low, closing underneath bearish cross and underneath the 17 EMA. Weekly chart still in an uptrend. Monthly chart still in an uptrend. Okay, Weekly and monthly still in uptrends. 2-day, still in an uptrend. We haven't made a lower low yet. Okay. On the daily chart, have we made a lower low? No. Okay. Had we made a lower low right here, all right, we would now have SPY in a downtrend. So price remains, SPY remains in an uptrend and bullish up there at the top of quadrant 4. All right, so there's SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, here's QQQ. And QQQ, do they make a lower low? No, they don't. Again, same candle, lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish cross, underneath the 17. Still in an uptrend. But if they put a candle below this low right here, that will negate the uptrend, convert to downtrend. QQQ showing a head and shoulders pattern up here. This would be the right shoulder, left shoulder. This would be the right shoulder. This would be the head up there. QQQ in a head and shoulders pattern. Again, lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish cross and underneath the 17 EMA, and almost making a lower low. Still in an uptrend on QQQ. Let's take a look at FNGU. Okay, FNGU still in a downtrend, but not moving down, still moving to the right. Okay, so price for FNGU, again, just like the others, lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish cross, underneath the 17 EMA. I like that when there's more tail than there is body and wick, showing me bulls had more control right there. Not enough to fill the gap, though. Okay, so there's FNGU. That's still bullish, still in a downtrend, but that downtrend's not moving down. So there's FNGU. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow kind of healthy on Friday. Lower high, lower low, closing under a bullish trap, but over the rising 17. Price action is, let's move this up here, under the all-time high anchored VWAP there. So there's Diamond Dow. Still bullish up here at the top, okay, and still in an uptrend for Diamond Dow. IWM, lower high, lower low, closing inside of a bullish trap over the rising 17 EMA, and up here in quadrant 4, so that's bullish and still in an uptrend. So everything's still in an uptrend except FNGU, which has a downtrend that's not working. Let's take a look at our technicals. For technicals, on the breadth, lost a little more breadth today on this on our uptrend. So not a good day for the bulls. See how they gapped down and lost more breadth. So we're kind of losing momentum. So maybe if you still got some puts, they might come in handy later in the week. We'll see what happens. Losing some breadth in the market for that uptrend. T2122. Okay, well, we fell out of the overbought zone. Went airborne over the buy zone, over the buyer's chop zone, landed in the seller's chop zone, and managed to climb our way back into the buyer's chop zone by the end of the day. Okay, so not impressive, but all in all, they did manage to climb their way back into above the 50-yard line. So that part's good, but falling out of bed like this, not so much. All right, T2123. Wow. Okay, another rally high. Okay, another new all-time high for T2123, showing you that the breath is still alive. All right, with a new rally high, with a new all-time high, T2123. No gap up. All right, and almost green from the beginning to the end of the day, and closing the day near the high of the day. So that's T2123 15-minute. Up over the 200, that's bullish. Holding the higher ground, that's bullish. Ending the day at the high of the day, that's bullish. Green from the beginning to the end, that's also bullish. And in an uptrend right there on the 15-minute. 3-bar chart, it's going to look pretty close. Again, it's the same product, so it's going to have a new all-time high. Again, 3 more green candle bars because it's 3 bars for one day. up over the 200 SMA, up here at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish and still in an uptrend on the 3 bar. FNGU, price action for FNGU, bearish gap down, bulls couldn't fill the gap. You can see price double bottom down here. After double bottoming, we climbed up on top, back up on top of VWAP. All right, notice we couldn't hold the first time, holding the second time and kind of melting up. Not a very strong melt up there for FNGU. We'll see what happens. Again, caught underneath the 200 SMA. Again, if you look at this, again, we're still up, and we're still holding the higher ground up here. So FNGU, as far as 15-minute chart goes, we have we're not in an upper. We're still in a downtrend on the 15-minute chart because we made lower lows. There's a low. We made a lower low, and we have not made any higher highs yet. Okay, so there's FNGU. Still a lot of work to be done for FNGU. Trying to close that gap. All right, at the end of the day, not quite, not quite enough mustard, not quite enough spinach. All right, so there's FNGU. Take a look at what we traded today. We'll head back over to here, and we'll look at the price action for, well, let's just pull up the first one. $39 on some CGC calls, still holding those. Look at those on the 10-minute chart. Okay, here's some CGC, still holding these calls. Again, sold into strength at the end of the day here on the 2nd. Okay, wasn't much strength, okay, because we gapped down and moved over to the right. Okay, but I sold into the highs, made only $39. Okay, gold was rocking and rolling to the highs, new all-time high for gold up there. All right, new all-time high for gold. So I sold into the rally for the gold. Actually sold everything out, looking to reload, hopefully. We'll see if I can get a reload on a pullback maybe tomorrow. So there's gold, all right? Gap up and go, gap and go. Spent the whole day over VWAP, very bullish. Made 1,700 on those. 1,900 on some QQQ puts, obviously, into this dip. You can see all the red dots up top there. That was where the strength was. So I sold some, I bought some puts and sold into strength as price dipped down to re-challenge the low of day right here, okay, on QQQ. Made 1,700. Lost 1,400 on some QQQ calls. Just the price got away from me with the big gap down, and I managed to double down and get out with a small loss. That's 1,400 on the short side right there. So that was a tough day, losing 1,400. That's all right. All right, I've made it up in other areas. 365 in some 655 calls. Again, these are short, or I had these calls short due to the downtrend, and I was holding a position which I expect more bullishness because the market is still bullish. All right, so I sold some calls short and managed to squeak out $360 right there. SPY 645 calls, 3 days till expiration, 4,800 on those. Again, buying the dip, selling in the rally. Okay, then buying the dip, selling the rally, buying the dip right here. See the curve, the dip, and then selling into the rally on that. Okay, that was SPY calls for those. 2,300 on some puts. Again, price moving down. I think I sold those puts short. Yeah, I sold those short. So you can see I sold those short to counteract the loss I had in the other puts, and managed to capture 2,300 selling those puts short when I saw the bullish uptrend and the put downtrend ending, and no bounce away from VWAP. In other words, no H pattern rollover. So I converted my puts to a spread and sold puts short, and that became a debit spread. 640 calls, 0 DTE, 56.90 on those. Again, looking at the 640, looking like a viable target for end of day. And you can see I bought those at the end of the day, those 0 DTEs, in anticipation of price restarting the uptrend, the 10-minute uptrend right through here. Kind of restarted that, kind of lost it right here, but not really. Kind of just barely closed it right there, then reopened it, and then started to climb back up to 640 near end of day. And you can see the price rallying all the way back up towards there. Of course, I sold those for 37 cents, and you can see where price is now, $1.52. So huge miss out on that, but that's a 0 DTE. That could be 0, and I could be eating them. So that's what happens with those. They expire, and you got to get out of them before 4:15. 642 calls, 13K on those. Again, anticipating price moving all the way straight up to 642, which would be the all-time high anchored VWAP up there. Okay, but price decided to pull a dip. All right in here and burn off. You can see about 6 10-minute candles. At that time, I knew it was over. Just getting out at break even was probably my best solution on that. Although I did buy these 10, I saw price moving up, so I bought the. You can see I bought the calls right here when I noticed we're having a 10-minute uptrend, and there's a possibility of us grinding all the way up to 642, and that's when I bought those calls. Bought them cheap, probably. Let's see, 9 cents a share, 7 cents a share. Okay. Anticipation of price grinding all the way up to 642. Never got to 642 because it did this 6-bar pullback on top of VWAP, and then it finally resumed the 10-minute uptrend. By then it was too late, so I, instead of taking the 642s, I closed them out and went with the 640s, which happened to reward me nicely, except I could have held on till the end of the day, as I said earlier, and price action just ripped right into the end of the day. 641.45 there. All right, let's take a look at last one. 647 calls, lost 103 on those. Again, those gapped down on me, and I got burned on those. And made $30 on some QQQ. September 575 calls. And that one was, again, gap down. I doubled down and got out at close to break even on those to gain $30. Yeah, ran up to 642 on the first post-market candle. Not playing nice, Mr. Market. Yeah, that was not nice at all. We were expecting 642. Well, I was back here, and then they pulled the 6-bar pullback. Jim, you end up positive for the day. I think you did. I think you said I'm gonna stop here. It's getting too wiggly. So nice, Jim. I heard Jim made his daily goal early in the morning, and congrats to Jim on that. So we'll take a look. Let's close this off. All right, and let's take a look at some silver and some gold. Just take a peek at it. Okay, so let's take a look at silver. And we'll look at silver on the daily chart. Okay, FYI, it's a new 12-year high right there. Okay, expecting silver to challenge the all-time high, which is up there at $46, $48. Okay, there's silver. New 12-year high right there for silver. All right, let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG gapped down and traded up. Okay, lower high, lower low, closed over the bullish trap and over the 17 EMA, trying to fight off the downtrend. Still bearish, still in a downtrend, UNG. USO getting a little bullish here, and now in an uptrend because it made a higher high, and price action's not in the upper third, so it's still neutral. Again, price continues to move up and give it up. All right, goes up, gives it up. So we'll see. Maybe they can hold the higher ground in the upper third for once. All right, we'll find out later on this week. So there's USO, that's the oil fund, price action in an uptrend. all right, because it made a higher high, acting bullish, all right, but still neutral right through there. Okay, so there's USO, and I just did silver and gold, and that's it for today. T2123 makes new all-time high on T2123. Markets are still bullish, all right, even with the pullback. I do like the looks of that candle there on SPY for the daily. It did look like a big sword earlier, and now they filled in the handle of the sword with huge green bar up to the upside. So there's the daily chart on SPY. Take a look at QQQ. QQQ still bullish. Again, same thing. We did have a big looking sword pointed down. Looks like they filled in the hilt with some solid price action to the upside. All right, traders, that's it for me for today. I'll see you all tomorrow at 8 o'clock. All right, I will have that video for today is going to be up here, okay? If you want to watch the video, I don't speak much during the video, but it's up there for your learning, okay? All you do is hit the hamburger, okay? Go down here to archives in the recording. You'll find the recording right here, 9-2 John, right there. Okay, it's going to be a long video. It's 6.5 hours long. I don't talk at the end, but the opening was pretty good, and we kind of nailed the opening with some puts and traded those puts down to the low right there. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll see everybody tomorrow, okay, at 8 o'clock. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for hanging out with me today.